So here we're going over the save contribution feature. I'm showing the per paycheck contributions. The values auto-convert between per paycheck percentage and fixed dollar amount. When we save the contribution, it updates the status cards at the top. And this works for both fixed dollar and percentage of paycheck. And moving on to the retirement calculator, we can see if we make a change, we can compare the two different contribution scenarios. And that shows our yearly contributions. And once again, you can interchange between percentage of paycheck or fixed dollar amounts. We can also change our basic info, such as our age and our salary, and if we have a current balance. It updates the status card, and then we can map that on our projections. Now for advanced settings, we can also account for annual returns, inflation, and expected salary increase. For my front end, I use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I chose a lightweight front end because the application's interactions are primarily from inputs, sliders, and real-time DOM updates. Using plain.js avoids the overhead of a framework and keeps the app fast, portable, and easy to maintain. For the backend, I use Node.js and Express.js. Node.js was selected for simplicity in serving as a lightweight REST API, and it's excellent support for JSON-based workflows. Express provides a minimal but flexible routing layer for handling the contribution setting and calculation endpoints. For storage, I use a local JSON file. I didn't introduce a full database. I just used the JSON file for persistence. I think this is sufficient for the single user and prototype scenario, and it also keeps the project highly portable and avoids unnecessary complexity. The backend simply reads and writes the contribution settings from the file. And so, kind of from a high-level architecture perspective, this application follows a simple client-server model. The front end renders the contribution interface and year-to-date stats. It handles slider and text input events and performs real-time calculations in the browser. It sends updates to the backend via fetch for persistent storage or retirement impact projections. The backend exposes REST API endpoints. So for example, using get API contributions to fetch the current settings, or post API contributions to update or save settings, or post API calculation retirement impact to compute the projected retirement value. It reads and writes from the JSON file as a lightweight persistence. It also performs the calculation logic to ensure consistent validated outputs regardless of client-side behavior. So why did I make these choices? I tried to value simplicity and performance. The app doesn't require a heavy framework or full database, so Node, Express, and JSON storage are a good combination to provide fast development and low overhead. It also makes it easier to maintain because keeping the front-end logic in vanilla JavaScript makes the project easy to understand and modify. The backend API is modular and can be expanded later if we need to switch to MongoDB or PostgreSQL. It's portable. The entire application runs only with Node.js installed. No external cloud services or database are required. It's scalable, so future-proof. Although it's simple, the architecture mirrors a standard REST app. Swapping the JSON file for a scalable database later would require minimal refactoring. So 3 things I'd work on if I had more time to work on this project. I'd probably clean up the UI a little bit, try to consolidate some of the titles, some of the descriptions, probably add some warnings about expectations when adjusting things such as inflation and salary, and just to match people's expectations when it comes to projections like this into the future. Functionality-wise, I would like to add an adjusting age adjusting age into the calculator, so you could see what different projections look like if you retire at different ages. So from 65 to 70, for example, see kind of what your contributions and the different returns and stuff look like at that age and how your 401k maps out. With a week, I'd probably be able to get a lot done. So one thing I think I would like to add is an AI chatbot. So I got the idea from Vanguard. So here they have kind of a similar input structure, but instead they structured it as a conversation prompt. Now this doesn't use AI, but that gave me the idea where if I could implement an AI chatbot and then give it the tools so that it could take those inputted numbers and then manually or automatically import those into the calculations and the slots, I think it'd be really nice and really intuitive. So instead of importing the numbers yourself and trying to mess with some of these scenarios, you could just conversationally talk to your chatbot, and that chatbot could interact with the web page for you.